Hello dear chess friends, my name is Marko Makaj, I am FIDE master from Croatia and I record this video for great chess teaching site Remote Chess Academy. The topic for my today lesson will be the attack. Now, when we speak about the attack in a chess, we can speak about it on a few different ways or from many different aspects. Today, I will try to represent to you the attack from three different angles. The first one will be the attack related with the meaning and with the openings. The second one will be the attack in the middle games, and of course the third one will be the meaning of the attack in the end games. Let's start first with the attack in the openings. Now, when we speak about the attack in the opening, we can speak about what white can attack in the opening, or black, but because of white have one extra tempo, he has more chances to attack the black than the black to attack the white. Now, let's start to speak about the attack on the opponent's king. For instance, here, after first moves e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop c4, we can see that white wants to attack black king. Where he wants to do this? He wants to take the advantage over the f7 square. The f7 square is, on the start of the chess game, the most vulnerable square and the pawn in black camp. Now, after bishop c4, white has concrete idea. Attack on the opponent's king on the f7 square. Of course, here he can try to attack this square with the knight from f3. Now the bishop is targeting f7, and then of course the knight will came on g5. For instance, if black chooses to play knight to f6, one very important moment is arrived and white has clear ability to fight and try to get the advantage over the f7 square. Here we can speak about the term of the attack in the openings, and this kind of the attack from white is related with the attack on the black king. Now, the second thing that can be done in the opening, white can fight and attack black in the center. Here, after first move e4, if black plays c5, he somehow try to take the advantage over the d4 square. Now, we all know that the term of the center is very important in a chess, and sometimes you need to fight, you need to attack the opponent's pawns or pieces in order to get the advantage in the center. That means that here, if white play b4, he sacrifice or attack the opponent's pawn in order to take advantage over the d4 square. For instance, if now black take the pawn on b4 with the very next move d4, white attack the center and white attack the opponent's pawn in order to take the advantage over the center. We have also the next thing what white can do if black doesn't play in order to achieve the equality, of course in the center, because from the opening you want to first start or attack the opponent's pieces or the pawns in order to get some advantage and then play the middle game. For instance, if now black choose to play slightly more passive, then white of course will with next move d4 and c4 will attack the opponent first in the center, and then after this in the middle game he'll be able to choose where to get this attack going. In most of the occasions he will attack black on the queen side or even on the king side. Of course, we also have the third option, how to play against the opponent's pieces and the pawns in order to get the advantage from the opening, and because of this I will show you the next sequence of moves. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, and now let's suppose that black play bishop to c5. Now, first of all, the most vulnerable place and square in black camp is pawn f7, but with bishop c5, black doesn't allow white to take over the initiative or the attack with knight to g5. In order to create here something, white can start immediately attack on the opponent's pieces. For instance, white can play b4. Now, white attack the bishop on c5. If bishop takes on b4, c3, bishop c5, and d4 is the sequence of moves where white 3 times attack the opponent's bishop, now on c5 and before on b4, in order to create attacking position in the center. To show you that it's not always important that only white start attacking black pieces, I can show you one very important variation from the Sicilian, whenever black can start fight and start attack white pieces right from the beginning. Because of this, I will show you the sequence of moves e4, c5, knight to f3, knight to c6, d4, c takes on d4, knight takes on d4, knight f6. Now black first start the attack on the opponent's pawn on e4. Of course, knight to c3 now defend this pawn on e4. And now try to see how black can start the attack on the opponent's knights, both of them on d4 and on c3. e5. Now the pawn start the attack on the knight on d4. Knight d to b5. Now first black wants to defend the d6 square, and after, for instance, bishop g5, very next move is a6. Once again this knight is under attack, and after knight to a3, black can start the attack and create some threats against the both of the knights. One on the a3 and the second one on the c3. Now, when we saw what is the attack in the openings, let's start to see some variations and let's speak about the attack in the middle games. In this matter, let's open the next position. So, here I will show you how we can speak about the attack in the middle game. Of course, middle game is the stage of the game after the opening, and in order to create the attacking chances in the middle game, you need also to be very concrete in the opening. And now I will show you first thing that we can speak and how we can speak about the attack in the middle game related with one opening that is familiar to all of you, and this is the French defense. So because of this I will show you the next sequence of moves: e6, d4, d5, e5, c5, c3, knight to c6, knight to f3, bishop to d7, bishop to d3, c takes on d4, c takes on d4. For the example, I choose bishop to b4, knight to c3, knight g to e7, and then h4. Now, very important thing right from the opening is to start see what happened in the particular position. If now black choose to castle on the king side, we reach the middle game that is very important because the idea from white doesn't occur only here but in most of the other variations that have similar structure. So after the castle, white has very nice attack, so the attack on the king, on the opponent's king. So this is the first kind of the attack that you can start making in the middle game, is to attack the opponent's king. And because of this here, white can win the game after very strong attack on the opponent's king with bishop to h7. This is the bishop sacrifice in order to expose very bad black king. Of course, if black king take on h7, knight to g5 will launch deadly attack on the opponent's king. For instance, after king goes to g8 and queen came to h5, in very next move queen to h7, or if black start to play something like rook a8, then he'll get mated on very nice way. So for instance, queen to h8 check, knight can only defend the g8 square. After it, knight to h7 check the king, king need to go on e7, and now deadly check on g5, where if he starts defending with f6 queen to g7 is very nice mate, or if he start to playing the moves like knight to f6, then white will mate the king after the next sequence of moves. That means that in the first aspect about the attack, we can start to talking about the attack on the opponent king. Now, in the middle game, if you doesn't have the opponent's king as the clear target, you need to create attack on his pawns, on his loose pieces, or just to play on one side of the board. As in the opening, in the middle game also the meaning of the center is very important, but also the play or the attack on the wings. For this matter, I will show you one example of how to play on the wings. For instance, I will choose once again the Sicilian after e4, c5, knight to f3, e6, d4, cd, knight d, knight f6, knight c3, d6, f3, a6, bishop to e3, b5, queen d2, bishop to b7, g4, knight of d7, castle on the long side, knight b6, and of course now h4, knight 8 to d7. Now we can see some other aspects about the attack in the middle game. And here the meaning of the attack is related with the play on the wings. For instance, because of the pawn structure, you can see that here white wants to take the advantage over the opponent's position on the king side, and black on the other side have the ability, and his main idea is to start attacking white on the queen side. That means that white will launch not only the pawn attack, but also he will make the moves like rook g1 and then bishop h3 in order to create as many pressure as he'll be able to do on the king side. On the other side, black is not without the defense, because his best defense is the attack, and his counter-attack on the queen side with a and b pawn together with all of those pieces is enough to have very unclear game. So here we can speak about the attack on both flanks. White play on one wing and black is not without the play, and his attack is on the queen side. Both of them attack on one side of the board. Now, in order to explain you one more time, this very nice approach and meaning of the attack in the middle game is the next example. For this matter, I will choose to show you one opening that is the king's Indian defense. For instance, after starting moves d5, 97, 91, 97, 93 and f5, we can see that once again we have clear attacking chances for both of the sides. Right after the opening, we have very complex middle game where we can start to speak about the attack on the flanks. The meaning of the pawns and the attack here is to create first the weaknesses on one flank here. For instance, because of the pawn structure, black will play on the king side, and on the other side white will of course try to win the game. That means that after some moves like f3, just supporting this pawn on e4, and f4, we have a very rich position where white will start immediately to launch the attack with c5, and on the other side next few moves can be related with the play like this. For instance, a4 and then h5. And you can see that here we can speak about the attack once again on the both of the flanks. And when we speak about the attack, or when we speak about especially the attack in the middle game, this is something that is most likely to be done. So basically, we will fight and attack the opponent king, or we will launch the attack on one of the flanks. Let's see now what we can speak about the attack in the endgame. For this matter, I will show you first the next position. White will here take over the advantage even against the very weak black king. So, as in the opening, as in the middle game, in the endgame also, we can start the attack over the opponent weak king. For instance, here is very obviously that after bishop to e5, white will mate opponent king, because after king a8, rook takes on c8 is very nice mate. And the first example of how to play in the endgame if the opponent's king is weak. Now I will show you how to play against not opponent weak king, but against something else in the opening. For this I choose the next example. You can see that both of the players, white and black, has equal number of the pawns and also two minor pieces both. But the quality of these pieces is not equal, and because of this, both of the bishops or the bishop pair of white is much more stronger than both of the knights on black position. And because of this, we can see how white can make his position winning after just a couple of moves. Now, what white can do here, or how white can start the attack in very next move? And the answer is with bishop to d4. Now, you can see that both of the pawns are very weak because they cannot be defended from those white's bishops. For instance, after b4, bishop to g7, h5 and bishop to e2, white will take at least one of the black pawn and very easily win this game. Now here you can see the meaning of the attack on the opponent's pawns. And now I will show you the last example in how to attack in the endgames. Take a look at the next very important moment in the endgame. Here white even have one less piece, minor piece, but he has very deadly attack on the weak opponent king. And here is very important moment when white only with the rook and the knight against the bishop pair and the rook can mate the opponent's king because he is weak. This is also the example how white can, for instance, attack the black king. Now, of course, knight to c6 and king to a8 will mate the king on a7 square. And here, once again, a very clear example how white can play and attack weak opponent's king in the endgame. As the conclusion, we can start to say in the opening, attack and fight for the center, the space, or even try to attack the opponent's loose piece. In middle games, always try to attack the opponent's king as often as you can. And of course, in the end games, if you cannot mate the opponent's king, try to attack the opponent's pawns or even the loose pieces.